All right.
Return the last one.
If you want to.
Yeah. Cool. Hello. Welcome, everyone. So today all we're going to go through is very restorative yoga sort of class. And we're going to be doing everything very passively. Don't feel like there's going to need any physical exertion for this. It's most of it's going to be a bit of lying down on the back, lots of deep breathing, and yeah, just chill out and enjoy feeling your hips open, so that particularly at the moment where the stage we're getting to in the primary series requires lots of hip opening. So Bhujagadasana, Kramasana, and some of the lotus postures that follow, you need incredibly open hips to be able to do it. So better than just doing them very quickly when you're going through primary series, it can take a little bit longer to do it that way. But if you're doing it in a workshop sort of format like this, where you take a lot of time to allow the muscles to open, it can speed up the process a little bit faster. So you don't necessarily have to do extra exercises like this, but if you okay. Jesus. Two girls that are in the room just cannot stop laughing. Well done, guys. Yeah, so if you take your extra time doing like 10, 15 breaths and holding these poses over a couple of minutes rather than the 20 or so seconds that you get to hold them in primary series, then yeah, this is a much better way of going about it. Okay, so just to start off with, slide down onto your back. And you can just straighten out the legs. And then if you bend your knees, bring your feet together and let your knees flop out to the side. So you're in a sort of butterfly position. Now, if that position already hurts your knees at all, take a couple of blocks and place one underneath each knee. And then just lie on your back, one hand on the stomach, one hand on the chest. And breathe deeply into your belly. So you're just allowing the hands to direct where the awareness is going. So you've got awareness in the belly and awareness in the chest. And notice that at the end of the exhalation, where the breath starts isn't from the chest. You start from the breath coming into the belly. And then it's like going from the bottom all the way up to the top as you're breathing in over the course of about 6 or 8 seconds. You're filling up like a glass of water. And the exhale is just letting it drop out. So the exhale, you can let the air come out your nose and your mouth at the same time. And see if you can allow the exhalation all throughout all of this to be part of letting the muscles soften. So as you inhale, it's just awareness of the breath coming in. And on the exhale, there's awareness of the body, awareness of the sensation of tension, and allowing it to soften and melt. So you might already want to change the position. If you had the blocks under the knees, maybe the hips have opened a little bit already and you can take them onto a lower setting. Or if your knees are okay, you probably won't even need the blocks to be there at all. And still just continuing with the flow of the breath, the inhale into the belly, center, chest, and the exhale, just letting it drop out. See if you feel where the sensation is on the inner groins. You can imagine that your breath goes lower down. So you breathe down and you're filling up from the inside of the thighs, through the belly, up through the chest, and then letting the breath drop out to the mouth and the nose. make that even heavier still, just place both hands onto your thighs. And you can use just the weight of the hands to let the knees sink down with the gravity. And just using the breath, using your exhalation to allow the pose to melt. It doesn't have to be any, if you're doing ujjayi breath or anything, if that just like comes automatically to you can keep an ujjayi breath, but it's completely not necessary for this. All that's most important is trying to find a deep capacity of your breath. Try to find about 90% on the inhalation, and we'll leave only about 10% of the air there on the exhalation. So quite full, deep, intentional breaths. And then bring the knees together. Place your right ankle over the top of your left knee. So the ankle will be on the thigh. And just flexing the foot back. So flexing is toes moving towards the knee. And then with your hands, take hold of the back of your left thigh. And you can hold that position. Or if you want to make it a little bit more intense, take hold of the shin. And then first of all, just aware of stability of the pose. So you want to be a depth of the pose where both shoulders are flat on the ground. And you can feel the flatness of your pelvis is on the ground as well. For some of you, it'll be a bit higher up on the ilium part of the pelvis, so the top of the pelvis. But if you can, have the entire pelvis flat. And then again, it's just deep breathing, following the breath into the belly, following it into the sensation where there's some tension, and using your exhalation to release the tension. So all of these poses, we're holding them for quite some time. It's all just very subtle and passive. Don't feel like you need to really pull the leg in to feel for a hard sensation. If you're just feeling something, a subtle sensation, that's doing the work. Actually, when you feel just the initial subtle sensation, that's maybe you could call it closer to the surface of the skin, that's fascia being released. And it's when you release the fascia that it sends a message not just to the muscle that you're trying to target, but to the whole chain of muscles that are connected to that fascia, that it's okay for it to relax. So subtle is good. You can stay longer with it and eventually go deeper into it, rather than it's almost like if you were to go into a massage and you just got rubbed really hard straight away. It's not going to be as effective as if it's time taken to warm up the body and then gradually go deeper. So I think it's the same with these kind of stretches. Okay, and then placing your left foot down on the ground. And keep the legs the same position, but shift both legs over to the right-hand side. So letting your right knee come down to the ground, and the left knee is coming towards the ground. And you can just take both arms out to the side, so it's like in a crucifix type position. And then you're just allowing the weight of the left foot on top of the knee to create a little bit of a stretch. And again, you're looking for this one just to be a very subtle stretch. So it's probably not as intense as the previous pose, but the area that you're aiming for is the TFL, which is that side muscle connecting the top of the hip to the femur bone, and also the outside of the left thigh. So perhaps as you're breathing, you can notice any areas of the body that are still holding on. Try and notice where you're holding on and let go of them with your exhalation. Just letting yourself completely surrender to the pose. Okay, and then just bringing it back to center, bring the feet together, and now folding the left foot over the top of the right knee. Flex the foot back, and then taking hold with your hands onto the back of the thigh, or taking hold of the front of the shin. So just find, again, whether it's the thigh or the shin. If the shoulders are lifting off the ground, then go back to holding the back of the thigh. Otherwise, move a little deeper, holding onto the shin. Feel the grounding into the shoulders. Feel the back half of the body touching the mat. And feel that it's the flat part of the pelvic bone that's sinking down into the ground. And again, feel where it's on the back part of the thigh. You might feel that it's in the buttock or somewhere roughly around that area where there's a stretch happening. Just observe it with your inhalation, not trying to make it do anything. And then on your exhalation, just letting it drop out, letting it go. Some probably worth mentioning as well, and it's something I learned in the form of massage. I learned it's like a deep tissue emotional release massage. It's the same with yoga postures. That a lot of the theory of what tension is in the body is that tension. Well, it has a physical aspect to it as well, but it equally, if not more, has an emotional aspect to it. And particularly the hips and the thighs are a common emotional dumping ground. So when you're going through this kind of stuff and it's, you're feeling into an area and you're letting something go, know that the things that are in your mind and emotion and the things that are in your body stored as tension are connected by your breath. So if you feel like something's a little bit upset, or you might even start to cry and not know why, don't have to really question it too much. Just allow it to happen and know that it's something good happening. And then bringing the right foot onto the mat. Okay. And then bringing the left knee towards the ground. Bringing the right knee towards the ground. Over to your left side. And it's the weight of your right foot that's letting the right knee come down. And you can just take the arms out to the sides, the crucifix type position. And again, just breathing deeply. Maybe you can notice that one hip already is feeling quite different to the other side. Sometimes you'll feel one side there's a lot of tension, the other side there's no tension. But even if you're not feeling anything in the pose, just still stay with it. There's often a deeper change happening that you might not be aware of. Maintaining the breath to the belly, the center, the chest, the exhale, just let it go. Notice any muscles that are still switched on, trying to let them go as well. That's the thing I'll always say for even when you're doing an Ashtanga style classes, try and send a message of calmness back to the body by using the external parts of your nervous system. External parts of the nervous system, or the extremities of the nervous system, are in the hands, in the feet, and in the face. So if you feel that your body's agitated in any way, or it's hard to find calm in the pose, you send a message of safety from the rest of the nervous system. So if you tell your hands soften, tell your feet soften, tell your face soften, let all those relax, then you'll find it much easier for the rest of the body to stay calm. And bring the legs back to the center. You can bring both feet onto the ground. And rolling to one side, come back up into seated. Next thing is just to grab one of your blocks. And some people you might not need a block. You can approximate it for yourself if you need one. If you sit on your knees this way and your sitting bones don't touch the ground comfortably, or it's painful on the knees, then it's best to have a block and place that under the bottom. For some of you, if there's particular tightness going on, then you might want to have two blocks, and that'll help prop you up a bit higher. The next thing is if you notice, if you're to lean back and then the knees are naturally wanting to slide apart, if that's the case for you, you might want to take a towel or a strap and place the towel around, and you almost tie the legs into place there. So if you're just using a towel, you can just bring the towel, tie them together, and actually tie a double knot. But if you're using one of the straps, maybe can you just pass the other one? So if you're using a strap, you can just do it. I'm doing it this way. You could equally well use a belt. You just place that around the knees and use that to hold the knees in place. So you could have it with the knees touching, or with a slight gap between the knees. Just feel which one's more comfortable for you. Otherwise, a lot of people, you won't actually need one. Okay. So from here, just bring the hands behind the buttocks. And the fingertips pointing forwards, just lifting the chest up. Feel that as you're sitting in this position, you're using your breath into your chest quite a lot. So imagine lifting the entire rib cage up towards the ceiling. And then just breathing into the heart. And then to start proceeding with opening the hips, start to tuck the tailbone a little bit. So now the spine's a little bit flatter. And that might already be intense on the front of the thighs. So you could just stay there. Or if you want to come a little bit further into it, bring the elbows down onto the ground. And staying in that position. I find it helpful even you can touch onto the feet and place your thumb onto the sole of the foot. And if you push directly onto the sole of the foot, there's a nice trigger point there as well, which helps create a bit more calm. So you might want to stay here, stay for a few breaths. Tuck the tailbone. Breathe into the belly, the center, the chest, still maintaining very slow breath, about 6 or 8 seconds in and out. And if you've noticed that the knees have come apart a little bit too much, squeeze them a bit towards each other. Or maybe at this stage you might notice that you needed to have the strap to hold them in place. and that'll just keep them there in a much more relaxed way. That's your neck. So if it does hurt your neck staying in this position, you can engage more of your neck muscles by pushing your tongue onto the roof of the mouth. But another way that you could go about it is taking your other block, and you can put that behind you and put it onto its tallest position and then lean back. And instead of just holding the head up, you can bring the back of the head onto your block. Okay, so you might want to come down a little bit further, so you could change the top block on the head block onto a different setting, or if you don't need the block, you can come all the way down. And it's a bit like a fish pose, just rest the crown of the head onto the ground. And now from this position, so you might even be low enough and you can get your shoulders to come onto the ground. But don't push it too far. If it's already feeling strenuous, just come up a little bit. Just keep it tight on the tailbone. Breathe into the front of the hips. And then come up onto your elbows and coming back up. And then just coming to, just find a wall that's nearby you, or just a post, and just going to use it for a bit of support to find straightness in your spine. So start approaching the half lotus positions. First thing you want to do is feel that there's a lot of tallness coming up. You might bring heels in line with the groin. Notice as the pelvis has moved its position, try and shuffle your way back so it's touching the walls. And the thumbs come onto the instep of the foot. Bring the back of the head to the wall, and then tall up through the crown. So just paying awareness to the inner thighs, noticing where there might be some tension. And already you can feel what tension's there, and trying to let it soften just on the surface level to begin with. And if you want to add a little bit more to it, you just place the hands onto the knees and just let the weight of the knees, the weight of the hands on the knees bring the knees down. So you're not pushing the knees down, it's just the weight of the hands that would already be there. So only like half a kilo of weight on each hand. And so just noticing how each exhalation you can let go of the muscles that are holding on a little bit more. And so now instead of allowing the knees to come down, you're using the hands as a resistance point. So first try and push the feet into each other, and then attempt to push the knees up into the hands. And the knees aren't so much using any force to try and push the knees down any further. They're just there to stop the knees from coming up. And this effort to push the knees up, it's called a active release stretch. And doing that, you'll open the groins quite a bit quicker than if you were just using regular stretching line. This is one of the things that you can maybe see it's applied in a posture like this, but then think about when you're going through the primary series, how you can use this to your advantage.
Just go.
And then you can stop resisting, and then just bring the hands onto the knees, and you can maybe bring a little bit more weight onto the hands, and now you're helping the knees as they're coming down. Still feeling tallness up through the crown of the head. And then where the hands are, place them to the thighs now, and you can just bring a little bit of an external rotation to the thighs. You can even take the thumbs onto the inside of the thigh, and then use the entire hand to just roll the skin of the thigh outwards slightly. So it's just encouraging the external rotation. And in any stage with a posture like this, if you're feeling sharp knee pain, then it's better to not do it. Ease back, place some blocks under the knees, and just sit more subtly in the pose. But if there's no pain, then it's totally fine to proceed. Just to prevent any injuries, never any of this pushing down of the knees. You'll hear a lot of physios and any kind of physical health professionals say not to push the knees down in this pose. But what they mean is not to force the knees to go downwards. It's a very fine line between forcing things to go down and just guiding them on their way. So just feel like you're taking it subtly to a point where it's guided on its way down. And bringing the knees together. And straightening out the legs. Take your right leg back. So begin you just flexing the foot and taking one hand on the foot, one hand on the knee, and bringing the leg towards the chest. And using the back as a support. So you'll notice at the point where it might have turned into a bit of a cheating version, and particularly when you're going into half lotus position, this happens a lot. But with the assistance of the wall, there's a flat line where you can feel your pelvis still touching the wall and the back of your head still touching the wall. And then just holding that position there for a few moments. And bringing the leg a little bit more over towards the left-hand side, just to the point where you feel the stretching happen.
your shoulder.
And then to intensify the stretch a little bit further, take the foot into the elbow crease, if you can, otherwise just keep it in the hand, and the knee into the other elbow crease, and then you can monkey grip the hands and pull the shin in towards the chest. Still maintaining depth of breath. Notice that the pelvis moved away from the wall. Notice that the back of the head moved away from the wall, and trying to straighten up again. Try to notice the sensation. Where is it feeling? Try to breathe deeper into the area in the buttock where it's some tension. And then taking hold of the foot. No, just the foot. So this is a good exercise to see whether you're ready for taking leg behind the head posture. And it's this is the progression that you'd normally take with it. It's one of the postures that we'll come up to later in the week, but we're not going to actually do the leg behind head, but these are all the preparations for it. So first one is taking the foot and bringing the foot towards the chest. Try and keep the back of the head touching the wall. And then see if you can get the foot to touch the chest. If you can get the foot to touch the chest, that's one of the checkpoints for taking leg behind head. So feel the position, even if it's not touching, just leave it where it is. And maintaining deep breath. And then if you want to take it further still, you can bring the foot now at face height and bring the foot towards the face. And then see if you can touch the toe to the nose. So just bring it to a length that's appropriate for you. So if you're feeling it and it's out there, just leaving it out there. Yeah, that's another one of the markers, toe to nose. And then the next marker is now take, this is a little bit like the Bhujavidasana pose. You bring the shoulder underneath the back of the knee and then ground your right hand onto the ground. So you might feel like it's the inside of the knee is on the back of the elbow. Then from there, take the blade of the foot and start to straighten the leg. And wiggle as much of the shoulder under the back of the thigh as you can. And holding there. So you might be in this position, or you might be able to straighten out the leg. So just work the leg to the appropriate position. This one's a little bit more intense on the hamstrings. So just gauge it for yourself how far you want to straighten the leg. Not feeling that if it's not straight, then you're not completing the pose. If there's still a bend in the leg, that's fine. Just find where it is. Feel the back of the head is touching the wall. Breathe deeply and gradually start to work the leg to a straight position. Feeling it starting to make speed wobbles, then just ease back. It's gone a bit too far. And then releasing the leg. Okay, and straightening it out. And check that leg off. Okay, taking the left side. So just taking hand to the foot, hand to the knee, sitting nice and tall. And then bringing the shin towards the chest. You could just stay there. Observe the back of the thigh. Visualize the left buttock where the stretch might be happening. Or any other part of the body that feels like it's still hanging on. Find the depth of the breath. Notice subtly where it holds and trying to let it go with your exhalation. And you can bring the foot a little bit more over towards the left-hand side. So maybe that feels a little bit more intensity onto the buttock. And take the elbow crease to the knee and the other elbow crease to the foot and binding the hands. Or if it's not able to do that, just bring the leg a little bit closer towards the chest, still holding it with the hands. But if you can cradle it, that's just a nice, easy, passive way to hold it. And just bringing the leg closer towards the chest. Deepening the breath. You might want to wiggle a little bit side to side. Notice where is there more tension and how you can let it go. Notice if, as you're trying to hold the leg in position, if the shoulders start to shrug up, just try and tell the shoulders to relax. Always use those extra cues as well. You can use softness in the face, softness in the hands, softness in the feet, to send a message of calm back to the nervous system. And then letting the leg go. Okay, so adjust yourself back to the wall if you need to, and then coming to the next one. So taking hold of the foot and bringing the foot in towards the chest. So the foot might be out here, that's fine, but gradually moving the foot in until you can get foot to touch chest. And then relax it for a moment, and then taking it to the next point, so getting foot to touch nose. So bring the foot a bit higher, and bringing it towards the nose, not worrying about jutting the chin and trying to get it to touch the nose. Keep the head in the same position, and eventually the foot comes back and touching the nose. But if you feel that it's strenuous and wobbly to get to that position, just take an easier version. Go. And coming for the compass pose. So you take the back of the shoulder underneath the back of the thigh and ground the left hand down on the ground. Right hand takes the blade of the foot and starting to work the leg towards a straighter position. So it might be halfway stretched, knowing that you're building towards eventually getting it all the way into a straight position. Notice if the wobbling is starting to happen. And if the wobbling is happening, then just ease back a little bit further. As for how you're holding the foot, you can just take all the little toes and hold that part of the foot. And I usually just have like my little finger and ring finger slightly on the blade of the foot, and then working from there. I find you want to adjust and wiggle the shoulder in a little bit further, and then gradually working the leg towards straight. Okay, and then letting the leg go. And just coming back down to the mats and So this one is, so those last couple of poses were a little bit intense, and you'll find initially when you start doing those ones that it's quite hard for the core, or you might feel that it's a little bit uncomfortable for the back to stay in those positions. But usually that's just an indication of the core not being active and the spine relying on its own smaller muscles to stay upright. But it's not necessarily a negative pain, it's just indicating where something might be lacking. So back got sore, I'll work on the core. And now just taking your strap and lie down on the back. Straighten the legs out and then hook the strap over the arch of the foot and bring the leg up. And you can just adjust it, so you might want to grip it a little bit higher up. But just grip it at a point where you can keep both shoulders grounded on the ground. And it's just the right hand holding on. So you don't want to feel anything too intense at this point. Just look for the point where it's a little bit of a stretch happening. And we'll do another active release stretch. So keep the shoulder grounded, then try and push the heel towards the front. Imagine you're trying to bring your right foot back down to the ground. The front of the thigh is still quite firmly engaged. Toes are flexed back. And pushing the heel down. Now take both hands to the strap again. Relax the leg for a moment. Try and grip a little bit higher up. And then pulling the shoulder back down again. And now again, try and push the heel back down towards the ground. Firm the right thigh. Notice if the right shoulder is lifted, try and keep it re-grounded. And then one more, so we'll go quite a bit deeper now. So taking maybe another 5, maybe 10 centimeters, taking the grip higher. If you're already comfortably able to get to the foot, you can even just take hold of the foot and grab hold of the big toe and ground your shoulder down. And then holding from that position, pushing the heel down towards the ground. Firm the thigh. Feel the grounding through the torso, so as both sides of the hips are grounding and both shoulders are grounding. And then letting go of the toe, letting it come back down, and taking the strap again. And wrapping it around the foot. And just move the leg up into about a 90-degree position, and just hold on to the strap. So not to your fullest extent, maybe like the first position you were in before, and keep both shoulders down on the ground. Firm the thigh. And now take the leg out to the side. And just bringing it back up. And now bringing it out to the side, but try and keep your left hip grounded as it comes out to the side. Keep your left shoulder grounded as it comes out to the side. And then bring the leg back up. And again, slowly bring your leg down, slowly down. And then bringing it back up to the center. And you want to try and stay as grounded as you can on the left side of your pelvis. So imagine you just shifted your core across to the left hip and it's holding firm there. Your left shoulder is firmly grounded, and bring the left arm out to the side as a counterbalance. Now slowly letting the right leg come out to the side. So not allowing it to just drop down. Just find a height that it can come to before the hip or the shoulder start lifting, and just leaving it there. And now where you're holding it with the strap, try to just subtly try to lift the foot back up towards the ceiling. But it's the hand on the strap that's trying to pull the foot back down. So they're working against each other to create another active release stretch. And bring the leg back up to the center. Take hold with both hands and then switch to the left hand. Bring the right arm out to the side. And now without letting the right side of the pelvis lift off the ground, bring the right leg over to the left side. And so you're trying, it's only a little bit over to the left. And you're feeling the stretch through the outside of your right thigh and through your right hip. Checking that the kneecap is still lifted, firm thigh, flexed foot. Both sides of the hip grounded, both shoulders grounded. And then again, use resistance with so the left hand is holding the foot to try and pull it down, but now use the foot to try and push its way back up towards center. And notice how that changes the stretch. So the hand is trying to pull the foot down, the foot is trying to pull its way back up to center. Okay, and now let it fully relax. So you allow the right hip to come up off the ground, but keep your right shoulder grounded as you bring the foot towards the ground, maybe even all the way down to the ground. And not an active release stretch, this one, it's just passively letting it stay there. If you wanted to feel anything a little bit deeper in the pose, imagine that your right hip is trying to reach towards the front of your mat. And that might help it just open a little bit further. And then bring the leg back up to the center. And then letting go of the foot. And straightening that leg out and just shake the leg off. Done with that side and switch to your left side. So bringing the left leg up, hooking it with the strap. Flex the toes back. Find the appropriate length of your strap and just holding it onto it with your left hand and making sure that you've got the leg at a height just where you can keep both shoulders grounded, both sides of the pelvic bone are grounded, and your left thigh is active, so try to lift your kneecap. Lift kneecap is lift kneecap towards your hip. Firm quad. And now it's the same thing again. So the hand is resisting, but the heel is trying to push its way back down towards the ground. Keeping breath deep. And then on your exhale, let it come a little bit deeper. And bring the hand in a little bit closer towards the foot. Take the grip around the shoulder. And again, feel the heel is trying to push its way down towards the mat. The shoulder lifted, trying to reach around the shoulder. Firm the thigh. again, a little bit closer, so both hands to the strap. Bring the hand closer to the foot, or if you're already very close to the foot, you may want to grab hold of the big toe, the front two fingers, and the same thing again. Firm thigh, heel trying to push its way downwards, shoulder trying to ground. So you might notice this is, those of you doing the final version of Uttita Hasta Padangustasana, so the standing grab big toe pose. This is exactly the same action that's happening. The only difference is that when the leg is up, the elbow is lifting out to the side to try and hold up the position. So the same thing you're trying to do here with trying to keep the shoulder grounded. When you're in the standing version of the pose, it's lifting the elbow out to the side, which becomes the resistance point to keep the leg up. And the heel is, although initially you need to work quite a lot to get the leg high enough, when you're in the final version of the posture, you're trying to push the heel downwards slightly and use resistance of the hand to hold it in its place, so you can still create an active release stretch in that version of the posture as well. Okay. And then letting go of the leg. Taking your strap again and hooking it around the sole of the foot. So both hands can be on the towel or the strap, and bringing the leg roughly 90 degrees is good. And just holding on with the left hand and letting the leg come out to the side. Find where its limit is naturally, and then bring the leg back up to the center. Now try again to keep your right side of your pelvis grounded as you bring the leg down. So not allowing the pelvis to lift and then come back up. And then again, slowly bringing the leg down. And coming back up. Now taking the right arm out to the side so that forms a counterbalance. Keep the right leg firm and bringing the leg out to the side. And making sure the right shoulder and the right side of the pelvis not lifting. Just bring it to the appropriate height. You might want to even rest your elbow down on the ground if it's low enough. And then use the hand gripping the towel or the strap to hold it in position, but trying to lift the foot back up towards the center line. They're resisting against each other. And then letting the groin go a little bit and letting it come a little bit further down. And perhaps some of you, if the hips are already quite open, you can bring the leg all the way down. And just staying passively there, deepening the breath, observe the area in the groin, and try to visualize that area soften. And then bring the leg back up to the center. And both hands take the grip of the towel again. And letting the leg come over to the right hand side. Again, this is not letting it fully come out to the side. You're keeping both sides of the pelvis grounded. And keep your left arm out to the side so you can keep your left shoulder grounded. Again, you can have that feeling of as you're pulling down with the hand, the foot is trying to push its way back up towards the center line. You can imagine you're trying to open the space between the top of your left hip crest and your lower ribs. So by creating some more space there, you might find that that changes the stretch quite a bit as well. And then the more passive version, so you allow the left side of the hip to come up off the ground and let your foot come right out to the side, allowing the spine to twist. And then just staying there, deepening breath. Feel as though the left hip is trying to reach towards the front of the mat a little bit to create a little bit more space. And then bring the leg back up to the center. And moving the foot and straightening the legs out. And just staying on the back. And let the feet flop out to the sides, hands flop out to the sides, and the palms facing towards the ceiling. Shrugging the shoulders a little bit further away from the ears. And just deepening the breath. Breathe into the belly, the center, the chest. And letting the exhalation drop out through the mouth. Breathe in deeply the belly, the center, the chest. Hold the breath for a moment. Notice where there's any tension still in the body. And then soft exhalation out the mouth. And one more deep breath into the belly, the center, the chest. Fill the breath up all the way and hold the breath. Notice where there's tension. And then send the message to the hands, the feet, the face, all to soften as you exhale out the mouth. And nothing to do for the next few minutes. Just keeping the eyes closed, breathe and rest, observing the belly rise and fall, and just letting whatever has happened to the body just reconfigure and go back to equilibrium. And just deepening the breath. Awareness back to the body. A bit of movement to the hands and feet. Fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. And reaching the hands up here and stretching. Point the toes, reach through the hands, stretch, stretch, stretch. And rolling onto your right hand side. Bend the knees, use the forearm or forearm elbow. Stay there for a couple of breaths. And then pushing down into the left hand and coming back up into okay. So I hope your hips are feeling all right. Yeah, if there's any sort of pain or anything going on, just send me a message, let me know, and I'll see if I can help out the best I can. I find one of the things that doing this kind of practice and keeping it as just a separate thing that you do every once in a while as a bit of a complementary thing to the Ashtanga practice, you can just take a different kind of insight into the way that you're doing poses in Ashtanga. If you were to look at it from like a couple of different perspectives, one is like if you see that humans on the planet are versus nature, and that we've kind of got this battle with nature where we're constantly screwing it up and destroying ecosystems and putting bulldozers to stuff. What the human needs to learn is to become more attuned with nature and aware of its systems and work in conjunction with it rather than constantly fighting and destroying it till there's nothing left. It's a similar thing that we've got to do with approaching the yoga poses. So I know myself that it's usually my mind and often a form of ego that takes place when I'm trying to achieve certain poses, or I'm finding that progress needs to be made the same way the human feels like constantly that progress needs to be made. Actually, the real progress isn't, what we won't call it progress, we'll call it evolution. and evolution of the body it takes place when you approach things more subtly and with a lot more listening and a lot more compassion towards what's going on. So just look for the smaller, subtle things. Use your breath, and then you'll be have a more open body and more comfortable meat chassis to live in. Okay, that's all for today. So thanks very much for coming, guys and girls. Have a good night. Namaste. See you in the morning. Cool. See you, Beck. See you, Matt. I'll talk to you guys just now.